Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Luzanne, Marketing Manager at Cardiolog Analytics, and I'll be kicking things off today. I'm joined by my colleague Jarn, who will lead the walkthrough and show how Cardiolog Analytics helps organizations measure Copilot readiness and ROI across Microsoft 365. Today's session is called Copilot ROI and Readiness, Maximize AI Value Across Microsoft 365. Assigning Copilot licenses is only the beginning. Organizations and teams and groups also need to understand who is ready to benefit, where adoption barriers exist, and which licenses are delivering measurable value. Today, we'll show how behavioral analytics can help identify high potential users, uncover underutilized licenses, target training needs, and continuously measure Copilot ROI. For today's session, we'll begin with a brief introduction to Cardiolog Analytics. Then we'll explore Copilot readiness across Microsoft 365, including how organizations or teams or groups can identify which users, teams, and departments are best positioned to benefit from Copilot. Next, we'll look at adoption barriers and support needs, including where AI adoption may be likely to struggle and which users may require additional training, guidance, or targeted support. We'll also examine license utilization and ROI insights, including how to identify underutilized Copilot licenses, connect Copilot activity with broader Microsoft 365 usage, and track value continuously rather than only at rollout. And from there, we'll move into a live demonstration of Cardiolog Analytics, where we'll show how behavioral insights can support Cardiolog Copilot deployment, adoption, license optimization, and ROI measurement. And we'll finish with a short Q&A session, so please continue to send through your questions. So I'll start with a very brief introduction to who we are. Cardiolog Analytics has been helping organizations understand and improve Microsoft 365 usage since 2005. Our analytics platform is built specifically for SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, OneDrive, Viva Engage, Exchange, and the broader Microsoft 365 ecosystem. We support SharePoint Online, SharePoint 2019, and SharePoint Subscription Edition with both on-premises and SaaS deployments available. Our mission has always been simple: to help organizations understand how employees actually use their digital workplace. Because when decisions are based on real user behavior instead of assumptions, that's when organizations can improve governance, increase adoption, optimize content, and deliver a better employee experience across Microsoft 365. So let's just begin with one of the biggest misconceptions surrounding Copilot. Many organizations assume that once licenses have been assigned and usage begins to increase, the investment is delivering value. They see users accessing Copilot. Prompts are being submitted. Activity appears to be growing. So naturally, the rollout seems successful. But usage is not the same as adoption. And adoption is not the same as ROI. Basic usage reports will not tell you whether Copilot has been deployed to the users most likely to benefit from it. They will not show you which teams or groups or departments are ready to adopt AI successfully. They will not identify licenses that are active but underutilized. They will not reveal where employees need additional training, support, or guidance. And they will not explain how Copilot activity connects with broader Microsoft 365 behavior and business value. These are the critical signals that readiness and behavioral analytics uncover. By understanding how employees already work across Microsoft 365, Organizations gain the visibility needed to target the right users, identify adoption barriers, improve license utilization, and continuously measure the value of their Copilot investment. Instead of simply reporting activity, Copilot Analytics shows where adoption is succeeding, where value is being lost, and where action is needed to turn AI investment into measurable business impact. Now, let's see what those readiness and ROI signals look like in practice. So I will hand it over to my colleague Jan to show you what those readiness and ROI signals look like.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Lausanne. Let me share my screen here and we'll take a look. All right, so very excited to walk you through a handful of Copilot metrics and kind of share some of the data that Cardiolog can provide. I'm going to skip all the basic demo parts around SharePoint and all that and really dive right into the Copilot pieces here so that we have enough time to cover that and make sure we have time for some Q&A as well. So throughout the dashboards, we've now added Copilot metrics. So you'll see that kind of throughout the demo, but let's actually dive right into our first Copilot dashboard. And this first dashboard is around Copilot readiness. And then after deploying Copilot and after onboarding your users, also getting an idea over time of how Copilot readiness is improving and things of that sort. So the Copilot readiness, there's a overall score, which is made out of 3 components, co-authoring, active channel activity rate, and then digital debt score. We won't go into too much detail into the actual calculations. That all appears on our knowledge base and also over every metric here. When you hover over a question mark, you can see exactly what the calculations are. And same thing for the overall AI readiness. So you can always see exactly what calculations are being done. But the main factors are going to be things like, are we creating content that is shareable, that can be consumed by AI, or are we creating siloed content that might be saved on a personal OneDrive or things of that sort? Are we communicating mostly within teams? We've engaged more public channels, or are we communicating through one-to-one channels, maybe email or private chats, for example? And then also around things like how much users are participating in content versus just consuming content. So there's some of the main pillars that we look at to come up with the AI readiness score. We can then see the breakdown of AI readiness based on different parts of 365. So at the bottom left-hand side, we have a table broken down into columns for different parts of 365. And in my demo environment, it's displayed by department. Department here is merely an example. This can be any attribute you want to use, whether if it's the country the users are from, the city, the branch, the job title, or again, as in this case, department. And this way, I can actually see which departments have a higher AI readiness score, and then also see that based on the different parts of 365. So if most of my departments here have a low score on SharePoint, for example, that gives me the insights that I might want to provide more training on how to use SharePoint in a way to boost their AI readiness. So whether if that is sharing content or communicating in ways that would promote the AI readiness score. On the other hand, it seems that Exchange, for example, it seems like most of my departments have a fairly high score there, and so I don't have to invest a lot of training or other resources around Exchange in this case. On the right-hand side, we have indicators, in this case, focused on the actual departments. Departments on the top right-hand side, like IT and R&D in this case, are what we call the AI power group, or at least their score is AI power group. So they are ready for AI based on their AI readiness score. And you can see those groups here within the table as well. So we have 4 categories: AI power group, chat-heavy teams are in blue, siloed data creators, and then passive consumers are in red. So here we can see for each department where they might be struggling. So of course, for siloed data creators, perhaps we need to offer them some training in order to learn how to better share the content they're creating, make sure that AI can consume that and leverage it as well, or perhaps offer them the resources to better understand how to do that. But the idea here is that you get a wonderful breakdown, again, by any attribute you want. In this case, it's department, but it could be country or city or branch, or anything of that sort, or any attribute that you'd like. So again, the main goal of this first dashboard is to really help us understand AI readiness broken down by department, and then of course after we deploy Copilot, to be able to also track how these metrics are improving as we take initiatives like offer training, like create more resources and things of that sort. So that's the first dashboard that we see lots of customers benefiting from. The second part of our demo will be here. We'll see some Copilot reports. And so we're going to take a look at 5 reports. We'll start at a high level and then dive deeper. So at a very high level, we can see Copilot usage over time. Below that, we see a breakdown of Copilot usage by department. But again, it's going to be any attribute that you want to use. We can see things like interactions per user per day with Copilot. And then on the far right, we can see where they typically interact with Copilot, with which 365 apps are they usually interacting with Copilot. So again, this is a very high-level dashboard. We can see, again, just very general adoption trends, and at a very high level, see which departments are most active and which apps are typically being used with Copilot the most. From there, we can dive a little bit deeper. And the first thing to see at the very top of my dashboard is the apps filter. So for example, in this case, most Microsoft Teams have a license for SharePoint. So we could see data specifically for Copilot usage within SharePoint. So you'll be able to see on your sites how many Copilot interactions there have been, and then some of the tables here, you see the top content used with Copilot. So for example, these would be the top pages within SharePoint that a Copilot agent is usually accessed. And then here on the right-hand side, you can see the content that is referenced by Copilot. So when one of your visitors accesses the Copilot or the SharePoint agent and asks a question, this is going to be the content that Copilot is sharing with that user. So a few examples here would be if the board deck slide deck is most referenced by Copilot on your site, maybe we should add a link from our site homepage to that slide deck. So while Copilot is a great resource, if we could save folks time not having to ask Copilot and just click on a quick link from our homepage, that's a great way to help our users get the content that they need a little bit quicker. So that's this second dashboard where we dive a little bit deeper into kind of specific areas of 365. Next, we dive into visitor engagement. And so what we've added here is going to be the prompt categories. And here, of course, everything on my screen can work as a filter. So if I'm curious about the engineering team, I can click there and then see what prompt categories they typically use, or vice versa. If I click on one of these categories, like summarizing information, we can then filter to see which departments are actually leveraging that prompt, for example. So the idea is to see on your sites, in what ways are users engaging with SharePoint agents, for example, to give you the feedback that you need to make your content better for users. So if everyone is asking for a summary of your content, perhaps you can add a summary at the top of the page. And then anyone who the summary would be enough for can carry on, and anyone who wants to continue with the full article can, of course, read the full article, but they no longer have to spend time asking Copilot to do that for them. You also, of course, have more control when you summarize the content versus having Copilot do it individually for each user based on their prompt and how different prompts can, of course, skew and change the result from Copilot. The next dashboard here is going to have some ROI details. Here you can, of course, input things like Copilot license costs and average salary of your typical user or visitor to your site. And so these dashboards are great for helping us understand overall Copilot ROI within an organization. If there are certain users where we can reclaim their license, or users who might benefit from more training and support in order to better utilize their Copilot license as well. And then the last dashboard that we'll share today before we dive into the Q&A section of the webinar is going to be a focused dashboard around SharePoint agents. And so here we have several different metrics. Top left-hand side, we're going to have trends over time. So this is really wonderful for us to see the kind of increase or decrease over time and compare that to our goals. So if your goal is for users on your sites to use SharePoint agents more frequently, then you can, of course, track that here. And if that's not going based on your expectation, or if you would like that to happen quicker, then of course, once you have access to this data, you're empowered. And in this case, you can offer training to the users. You can have guides on your homepage on how to interact with SharePoint agents or the benefits of interacting with SharePoint agents on your site. To make sure that these adoption trends are going in the direction that you're hoping for. You can also see here, for example, the number of interactions by areas as well. So each one of these would be a different SharePoint agent, for example. And then here on the far right-hand side, we have a list of the content that's most frequently referenced by SharePoint agents as well. So this is a quick introduction to some of the Copilot metrics that can be provided within Cardiolog. With the last 5 minutes or so of the webinar, we're happy to conclude with any questions that you might have. All right, Luzanne, it doesn't seem like there are any questions today. But for now, we can thank everyone for joining the webinar today. We'll, of course, share a recording with everyone who joined and anyone who signed up who couldn't be here and get that out to everyone in the coming days.
Yes, thank you again for joining us today and seeing that recording. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Take care. Bye.